Hello, everybody. Welcome to the big show. My name is Mickey, and this is Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential show for middle Americans where all middle Americans are welcome. It doesn't matter where you've been, doesn't matter where you're going, just matters that you're here right now with us. Embracing your middleness, if you will. We got an entire country. There's 330 million people in the United States of America. Some people think that they're more important than others. Matter of fact, some people think that they're supposed to monitor your speech. They're supposed to tell you what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say. You're not allowed to say hurtful things. You're not allowed to say things that might hurt somebody's feelings. You hurt my feelings. I didn't like what you said. To all of you people that are uh, free speech monitors, hall monitors, if you will, I got this for you. I'm just saying. No, you're not allowed to tell me what I can think or what I can say. You're not allowed to say that I'm allowed to have an opinion on the 6th of January, but the opinion better be what you say. I'm not allowed to compare the 6th of January to anything else. I'm not allowed to have an opinion about the president of the United States that's contrary to what anybody else says. I'm not allowed to say anything about Nancy Pelosi. I'm not allowed to say anything about the situation with uh, what is it, global warming. I'm not allowed to say anything about gas prices. What else? What am I allowed to? I'll tell you what, man. I'll just sit over here in the corner and I won't have an opinion. I don't know what 330 million people think. I don't know what 330 million people think. But all of a sudden, if I say the wrong thing and 1,000 of them jump on me and say that I'm not allowed to say that, you're not allowed to say that. What do you mean I'm not allowed to say that? What do you mean I'm not allowed to say that? Well, you can have freedom of speech, but you have to suffer the consequences of your freedom of speech. Oh my God. How come we just can't leave each other alone, man? Because your speech is dangerous. My speech isn't dangerous. It's just speech. You know what it is? It's something that comes out of your throat and it makes a sound wave. That's what it is. So we are going to get into some of that today. We're going to talk about the Jack Del Rio Commanders thing, Ron Rivera being fined $100,000. What he said, was it really dangerous? Was it hateful? What was it? We're gonna break it down and we're gonna find out what Jack Del Rio said that was worth $100,000 to the organization that he works with. So without further ado, let's go to the chat. Just wanted to say, hey, congratulations once again, Carolyn. Gold medal, Greg's Ledger at the top of the board, coming in with a gold medal. So congratulations, Carolyn. Gold medal, Greg's Ledger. Dawn Ledger coming in with a nice smooth silver. Want to say congratulations out there in Arizona to Dawn. Congratulations on the nice silver medal. And then Sherry Clark. Sherry, we have not had you on the podium for the chat Olympics in a really, really long time. I just want to say congratulations to my favorite entrepreneur, tire expert in the city of Cabot, Arkansas, at A Star Tire on 2nd Street out there in Cabot, Arkansas. Congratulations for being the bronze medal winner today. Sherry, that is absolutely. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Susie. Hi, Mark. Hi, Daniel. Glad. And then Lane Calcaterra. Hey, Lane, how you doing? And then Eric Jackson. Hey, how you doing? Common sense will not be tolerated. E-Sense. I love the way that, by the way, I love E-Sense. I've always loved that. I love E-Sense. It's one of those great things that E-Sense. All right. So, all right, here we go. Oh, Mark says just got a new car. Took over 4 months to get it. Hey, all right. So I ordered a car 3 months ago, and supposedly it was going to start being built last week on the week of June 6th, the week that my wife was born on this planet. That's why it was very special to me. I'm looking forward to getting my new Ford F-150 hybrid truck. because I care about the planet. No, I don't care about the planet. The hybrid truck gave me everything I needed. The hybrid truck gave me dual overhead cams, V8 engine. It gave me 7.2 kilowatt generator attached inside of the truck. It allows me to tow more. It allows me to have onboard power. It gives me all the accessories that I want. And the gas mileage is at 25, which is handy now considering that gas is getting up to $5 a gallon. So, yeah, I'm glad I went hybrid, but saving the planet was not in my decision-making process to getting a new car. And I'm glad I'm finally going to get it. So, all right. So holy smokes, I digress. I'm going this way and that way, and I apologize to the entire world. All right. So, Jack and Joe, here's a picture of Jack Del Rio. This right here is Jack Del Rio. This is a picture on him, the Washington Post page right here. He said some stuff last week that we need to address. And there's one of the things that I want to read this. I feel like everybody makes mistakes, Allen said. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to condemn. Obviously, Del Rio said something he shouldn't have said. He owed it to the team like a man. He owned it to the team like a man. I mean, that's all you can ask for. Here's the point that I would like to make. He said something he should not have said. Really? He said something that he should not have said. I find that to be absolutely mind-boggling when you think about this. I'm going to go through word by word what Jack Del Rio said to find out what he should not have said. Jack Del Rio is fined by the Washington Commanders for an opinion. That's what I would like to say. He's fined for an opinion. Sounds like a case for the Labor Relations Board. Would love to understand the whole story. This is what Del Rio tweeted first. Would love to understand the whole story about why the summer of riots, looting, burning, and the destruction of personal property is never discussed, but this is. Hashtag Common Sense Del Rio tweeted. So Del Rio's asking a question. It said, would love to understand the whole story about why the summer of riots, looting, burning, and the destruction of personal property is never discussed, but this is. Referring to January 6th. Now, that was a very, very short tweet. It was very, very kind of cryptic. It was kind of like, hey, man, I got a question. If we had rioting for the entire year of 2020, and then January 6, 2021 rolls around, and there's another riot, aren't all riots bad? And why are we only talking about one of the riots? That's what Jack Del Rio's question is. How come nobody wants to talk to the simple fact of the matter that in 2020 we had Antifa riots, BLM riots, we had people burning things. Remember the Kenosha thing where the entire city was on fire? The mostly peaceful protest what burned down a city. The ones at Atlanta, Chicago, New York, LA, San Francisco, New Orleans, Memphis. They didn't have riots here in Little Rock, but we did have protests. Nobody wants to talk about that. And I'm telling you right now, it really seems like everybody just went, wow, let's not talk about that. Jack Del Rio asked a question. And now they're saying that you are not allowed to ask that question because he said something that he should not have said. What do you mean he said something he shouldn't have said? He just formed a question. How can we talk about this, but we don't talk about that? That seems extremely reasonable to me. This isn't even hard. Now, is he comparing apples to oranges and oranges to apples? Yes, because I don't believe that Antifa, BLM, and January 6th have anything to do with each other as they correlate to dissatisfaction by a population about what is going on in a particular case. Antifa has nothing to do with BLM, although BLM and Antifa may support each other in certain things. I'm sure that Antifa operates on its own, BLM operates on its own, and what happened during January 6th happened on its own. And you can say that Antifa and BLM and January 6th all happened organically. That somebody put in an idea, somebody was not happy. They said, hey, look here, we're going to go and protest. And then the protest turned into something that was worse. There was a lot of people that were arrested for the Antifa things. Remember when the Antifa thing was going on? When they started their own little country in the middle of Seattle or Oregon or wherever the heck it was? Chaff or Chaz or Chad or whatever the hell it was? You remember that? So it didn't have anything to do with anything other than a bunch of Antifa people saying that we want to start our own country because the rest of the world is fascist. And when the BLM thing happened, then all of a sudden Antifa went, hey, this is taking advantage of this so we can show up and we can do that BLM thing. But the BLM thing didn't have anything to do with the Antifa thing. The Antifa thing happened on its own. BLM happened because of Rodney King. And then the January 6th thing happened because of the election of Joe Biden and the negative reaction to that and the way that the process went. So we're talking about three different things. And Jack Del Rio was saying, how come we are only talking about one of those things? And now you're saying that he's saying that something is wrong, that he said something's wrong? The bad thing about this is they say, not only did you say something wrong, but we're going to punish you with $100,000 fine. Can you imagine going into McDonald's and saying, hey, look here, man, we looked at your Twitter account and you said that you didn't like that you supported one, but you didn't support the other, so we're going to fine you. Is that even legal? Is that even legal? That they can fine somebody for saying the wrong shit? I would go to the Labor Relations Board and say, hey, look here, man, my employer is punishing me for my First Amendment rights. And they didn't even say anything is bad. But the thing about it is they say, we're like, hey, man, can you clarify that? Can you clarify that? So he tried to clarify it. He said, let's get right down to it. What did I ask? I asked a simple question. Why are we not looking into those things? Because it's kind of hard for me to say. I can realistically look at it. I see the images on TV. People's livelihoods are being destroyed. Businesses are being burned down. No problem. And then we have a dust up at the Capitol. Nothing gets burned down, and we're going to make that's a major deal. I just think it's two kind of standards. If he was sitting in a room and we were having beers, those are some pretty reasonable things to say. That's extremely reasonable to say. All I'm saying is, I saw on TV where shit was getting burned down. And I saw this thing that happened in the Capitol. Let's call it a dust up. I don't know whether the terminology dust up is an accurate descriptor of what would happen. I don't know. It's an adjective. What do you call it when you have something that describes something? An adjective. That's it. It's an adjective. It describes something. You can say riot. You can say dust up. You can say protest. You can say whatever the heck you want to. You can say it's the most tragic thing that you've ever seen. You can say it was absolutely nothing. He just used a term to describe what he believed was a proper term to say that. And now all of a sudden he's being crucified because he said that these were riots and that was a dust up. When nothing got caught on fire. They did some damage. They painted some walls. They tore some shit up. But it's still an opinion. If nobody would have said anything, if he would have just taken that, if he'd have said it, if you take anybody with less than 20 Twitter followers They could say this shit all day, but because it's Jack Del Rio, because it got the notification of some sportscaster, all of a sudden now Jack Del Rio is going to be fined $100,000. That's absolutely insane. Let's get to some comments right quick. Hey, Darla Joe Stewart Bennett's here. Thank you very much. I just saw your photos. It's pretty. Holy smokes, what photos? I didn't see any photos. Do me a favor. I'll go on Facebook. I'll look at them later. He was asking what everybody else is saying and thinking. Debbie, thank you very much. I believe that you are right. I think that this is the fault of the people that decided to have a prime time hearing about January 6th. And they are not having primetime hearings about BLM or primetime hearings about Antifa. And people have questions about those too. What happened in the Antifa riots? What happened in the BLM riots? What happened on January 6th? I'm not saying that they all have to be addressed in 3 different hearings or in 1 different hearing. All I'm saying is, are you allowed to have an opinion or are you not allowed to have an opinion? And if you have an opinion, are you allowed to be punished for your opinion by your employer? Because it's not what you say. You have the right to say anything, but you have to live with the consequences. That means that the people that say that are being dickheads. They don't mean that you're allowed to say anything. They mean that you're only allowed to say and do or think what they want you to think. And if you don't, they're going to punish you. That's what the saying means. That's what the saying means is you can say whatever you want, but you have to live with the consequences, which we will enforce. We will make sure that you don't get a job. We will make sure that you cannot get food. We will make sure that you cannot have a house over your head or that your children are safe or that you're not being chastised. That's what they're saying. When somebody says you have the right to free speech, but you don't have the right to have no consequences from your free speech, what they're meaning is they believe it's their job to monitor your speech and punish you for your speech. That's what I have a problem with. That is unbelievably outrageous. I used to hear people say stupid shit all the time, and I used to ignore them. And I did ignore them. You want to know why I ignore them? Because they're stupid people. But now those people want to say, if I don't agree with them, that I must be punished and I must live consequentially because of how they will act, how they will treat me, how they will try to disenfranchise me, how they will try to separate me and cut me out of the American herd so that I can wither and die out there on the plains of pathetic righteousness because I don't fit in with their view and I'm not allowed to have my own opinion. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to live in that world, that is pathetic. You should be a supporter of free rights and you can disagree, but you should not believe that you have the right to punish people. I'm going to punch you. That's what they say. You have to live with the consequences. Well, what are the consequences there, Buffy? What are the consequences of me exercising? Well, we're going to try to get you fired. We're going to have you fined. We're not going to let you into polite society because you cannot be trusted. Therefore, you have to be excoriated and you have to be punished to the point where you will never disagree or say anything negative again. Mark says, reason and common sense seem to be lacking for a liberal left. This is insane. On January 6th, the people entered their house. The riots were against others. The people, and I believe that if you look at the tape, that the cops, they had 2 sides of the cops things. You had 2 sides of the cop thing in January 6th. And this is not the point of this, but I'm going to say it. Sometimes the cops were like, no, don't come in. And other times the cops were like, oh, come on in, man. I couldn't believe it when I saw the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol and people were staying between the ropes and just walking in. Then when it flashed outside and it showed people busting up windows, I was like, whoa. And I don't understand why, when somebody busted the window of the Capitol, U.S. Capitol, that the first person through the window didn't get shot. The U.S. Capitol was not guarded by people who were willing to defend the Capitol. They're like, oh, no, we're not allowed to shoot any of these people. Why the hell not? Are you defending it or not? Whoa, there's too many people. Awesome. You're going to tell me that if I'm in a United States military unit and somebody's attacking me and it's overwhelming odds that I'm not allowed to defend myself in the capital of the United States of America? That's why you have guns, you dumb shits. But I digress. I don't understand why the Capitol Police didn't use guns. I'm really surprised that only one person got shot. They're like, Ashley Babbitt did not deserve to get shot. Well, I'm trying to tell you that she had to know it was a possibility because she was busting into, and I don't want to see anybody die. But they broke the door and they shoved her through. They were shoving her through a window on the door. And it was obvious that you weren't allowed to go there because they had the door blocked and barricaded. And yet she still thought that she could bust through the door and go through the door without consequences. Nobody else went through that door after they shot Ashley Babbitt. But the point about this is freedom of speech. And do you have to suffer because you said something? And I realize Jack Del Rio said something he shouldn't have said. I think that that's pathetic, and I think that's sad. I was going to talk about Joe Biden. I'm going to talk about Joe Biden. Joe Biden went on Jimmy Kimmel last week, and he said, I gotta have that. I gotta have this. Let me finish the rest of this with Jack Del Rio. He said, I made comments earlier today in referencing the attack that took place in the United States Capitol on January 6th. Referencing that situation as a dust-up was irresponsible and negligent. I am sorry. So now they're saying that you're not allowed to use the words that you used in a tweet. You're not allowed to have the opinion, but you're also not allowed to use specific words. You're not allowed to use the word dust up. Really? So now we finally get into defining the words, and we're finally going to start saying what words you're allowed to use and what would you like to use it as? Would you like to say full-blown riot? Would you like to say kerfluffle? The situation was referred to as a dust-up. He should have used it as, that was a confrontation. It was a riot. Del Rio issued an apology statement later on Wednesday, noting that he stands by my comments condemning violence in the communities across the country. I say that while also expressing my support as an American citizen for peaceful protests in our country. He added, I have fully supported all peaceful protesters in America. I love, respect, and support all of my fellow coaches, players, and staff that I've worked with and their views and opinions. Then Washington head coach Ron Rivera announced a $100,000 fine for Del Rio, with the money being donated to the United States Capitol Police Memorial Fund. Del Rio previously caused a stir on Twitter in 2020 when he posted a quote tweeted that had a fabricated picture of New York Democrat AOC on it, and when he expressed his support for Donald Trump. Here's what the thing is. Oh! Sorry. Here's the thing is. We cannot condemn and punish people for freedom of speech. If that's in your business, please do me a favor. Kind of change the way that you believe it, right? People are allowed to say what they want to say. You're allowed to disagree with them. You can debate them. You can prove them wrong. You don't have to make them live with the consequences of their language through a series of punishments for thinking and or saying something that you disagree with. That's what civil debate is. It's not crushing somebody that thinks differently than you do. My God, if we all thought the same way, what a boring and totally worthless life we would lead on this earth. First of all, who's allowed to come up with the ideas that we're going to espouse? Who is supposed to come up with the idea of one thing is better than another thing? Who is the person that formulates the idea for the group? And why does that person get to formulate the ideas for the group? If nobody's ever allowed to disagree with the leader or the majority or the people that can force compliance, then there would be no moving forward. We would only have to do it that way, and then we would all be enslaved. And that's what I've got to say about that is do not let people intimidate you to the point where they enforce their ideas on you by punishing you for your freedom of speech. And do not do that yourselves to anybody else. And that's what the middle is about. The middle is about the compromise between ideas, where we can discuss ideas in a free and open way and understand that some ideas are going to be better than others, but that everybody needs to be respected enough to be heard, even if we are going to not go along with what their ideas or what they say later. There's been a lot of bad ideas going around and floated in the world. And guess what? We've gotten rid of most of them because they didn't make sense. And guess what? We're all adults. We're allowed to handle bad ideas. But it doesn't mean that you have to get all kerfluffled or dusted up and do something to administer punishment to those that you disagree with. So please do me a favor. If you're one of those people that think you need to get even for what somebody thinks, think about what you thought and please reconsider. So, with that being said, remember, everybody, thank you very much. Hit the like, share, notification bells. Like, share, hit the notification bell. Remember, Mickey in the middle, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Central, right here, wherever I am, right there, wherever you. Thank you for your comments and cannot tell you how much I was appreciated. 1984 is now becoming a reality, says Mark Calcaterra. I'm hoping there's a dust up on Election Day in November, says Darla Joe, Stuart Bennett. And then replying to Mark, I was thinking about that. It's called slavery. Yes, if you control somebody's thoughts, minds, what they say, it is called slavery. Good night. Blessings, everybody. You guys take care. Be good. Love you. And without further ado, good night, small one. I love you. See ya. See ya.